Was that your first job being a Cutco salesman? I
It
mean,
was actually my
first sales job.
first sales job. Yep.
Okay. When I look back to that job now, because you got me involved in that at 18, when I go back and I look at that job, I think that was probably one of the most impactful moves in my life. I was hesitant to do it, and there was some fear involved. You know, it wasn't the traditional job. There's a lot of, it's hard to sell. We went out there, as you know, and sure, you in the beginning you do your family members, let's say 10 family members, but after that you're doing cold calling, and cold calling is not easy. So where I look at myself now in life, I think, holy cow, that experience at 18 made me so much stronger and better as a person. Like that opened me up. I became more outgoing. The whole salesmanship, because it's such a difficult job and because cold calling is so difficult and you're getting a lot of no's and it's hard to stay on top of your game. The sales arena is surrounded by top performers like Tony Robbins, Jim Rome. We're following all those people is to
Hmm.
keep that positive attitude. So when I go back and I think about getting that job at Cutco, it was probably one of the best experiences in my life. What do you think?
Oh, that is one of three parts to a mix that I believe I have had a dream life. I mean, there's several ingredients that go into it, but I think if there's three core ingredients, I took those skills from selling Cutco kitchen knives. I blended it with some advice I got from my dad and some advice I got from a college professor, and I was able to land three internships, my dream internships. When I was in college, my my junior year in college, um, I hadn't even thought about life after college. My professor said, and I minored in sports management. My major was communication. My minor was sports management, and the professor said, "Who in the classroom would love to have an internship with a sports team this summer?" Well, you can imagine every single hand went up. It was a class full of sports management students, and he said, "Well, I got good news. I have 5 internships to hand out." Um, but then he said, "The only fair way I know how to give out these internships is to the people with the best grades."
Mm,
So my head went
wow.
down, my shoulders shrunk. He had 3 classes of 60 students, and he was going to give it to the best 5 students. I had all B's and C. I had mostly B's and C's in college, so I definitely wasn't one of the best students. But then he went on to say, if you're not one of the best students, but you consider yourself a hard worker, come to my office hours, and I'll greatly increase your chances of landing an internship with a professional sports team, even if you have no contacts or no connections. So I thought to myself, that's me, because I had a paper route when I was 13. I worked at like Chuck E. Cheese type of place when I was 15, and then I had the sales job as a freshman. Um, and so that night, even though I had job experience, I didn't even have a resume yet. So that was like the wake up call, because in that same lecture, the professor said, "Hey, look, I went to school at UC Santa Barbara, as you know, and the professor called, hey, this is a bubble. Like, this is not normal, and you need to be thinking about life after college." And like I hadn't, and so that was my wake up call, and I'm so grateful for that class that day. So the next day, I showed up with my resume, and I said, I was just hungry, bright eyed, bushy tailed. Tell me what I got to do. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm not afraid to step out of my comfort zone. Tell me what I need to do, because I'd love to be able to tell all my friends that I landed a job or an internship with a professional sports team. And so we created this plan, and he basically said, you got to zig when others zag. And if you're just going to apply online, that's kind of like just buying a lotto ticket or crossing your fingers and
Like
saying,
monster.com. I don't even know if that's still around, but like,
yeah,
yeah.
Career Builder, Indeed nowadays, and Handshake, whatever the flavor of the day was. And so he said, you got to do more than that. So we concocted this strategy where I'm from the Bay Area, so he said, okay, and I was smart enough to realize that CEO, C-level types, they don't hire interns. Entry level employees, they don't hire interns. It's that like mid-level director at these companies, with the people who have director in their title. That's usually the people who hire interns. So I made an Excel spreadsheet with 6 people at 5 different sports teams. So I'm not a hockey fan. So for those Bay Area sports, it was the San Francisco 49ers, the Oakland Raiders, the San Francisco Giants, the Oakland A's, Golden State Warriors, but not the San Jose Sharks.
Not a hockey
Eh,
guy.
Yeah. And so I made this spreadsheet with 6 different. So the director of marketing, the director of finance, director of operations, director of community relations at all 5 of these teams. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do something that other students don't do. When other people are applying online, I'm going to go old school and I'm going to go snail mail. But I didn't just take a piece of paper like this, and I'm holding a normal piece of paper, and fold it up and put my resume on that. I was like, you got to be strategic. You got to do little things that make a difference.
Huge.
You got to stand out. So I took my resume and my cover letter, I printed on cardstock, nice thick paper, like not resume paper, but like cardstock, thick paper. And then I bought oversized envelopes, like 9 by 11 and a half or 9 by 12, whatever they are, manila envelopes. And then even to the detail, I didn't even use like a normal pen to fill out the address. I got a Sharpie just so it looked more pronounced. And so if it showed up, a secretary or an assistant wasn't going to open it. It would get opened by the person because it would look more personalized. And so when I was strategizing this with my professor, I was like, okay, if we do 30 of these, and it costs a little bit of money to buy 30 stamps, 30 big envelopes, go to Kinko's.
Especially as a college kid.
Yeah. And so, but luckily I had a little bit of money from selling the kitchen knives. And so I was able to do that. But even if I didn't, I think it would be a great enough investment in what I'm trying to get to. And so we sent out 30 of these, and I was thinking like, I get 5 responses, right? Because I'm zigging when others zag. People aren't doing this.
Yeah.
Guess how many responses I got?
I still think from the sales world, it's a numbers game. So I still don't think, if I had to guess, I'd say your numbers still wouldn't be that great. I would say 50% on the high end, 2/3. So I don't know, 50%. So
Yeah, no. I would have been thrilled with that. 0. I got
wow.
no
Okay.
responses.
Yeah.
And so like 10 days go by and I get no follow up. So I walk in with my shoulders slumped into my professor's office hours, and I go, no dice. And he said, yeah, I kind of expected that. I was like, wait, I thought you said like we should, we would probably get like 3 or 5. He's like, well, I was hoping for that, but it doesn't surprise me that you got no response. He's like, you know what you need to do now, right? And I was like, no. He's like, well, you got to call him. I was like, call him? Call him? These are like iconic people in my eyes. Like these are business people with a dream job, and I'm a little old pimpled faced insecure college student, and you want me to call these people? But then he broke it down to me. He's like, Sean, you can't pick up the phone, dial a number, and then say, hello, this is Sean. I'm a student at UC Santa Barbara. I sent something in the mail to you. Did you get it? He said, you can't say that? I was like, yeah, I could do that. He's like, and then if they say yes, you should say, I was curious what would be the next step to pursue an internship. And if they say no, then you say, well, would it be okay if I send it to you via email? He's like, can't you do that? I was like, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, obviously I'm very nervous about this. So for the next 3 days, I had 30 people to call. So I picked 10 people for the next 3 days. And I can still remember being in my dorm room or wherever I was living. I don't think it was a dorm, but I was a transfer student. So I was like a transfer dorm. And I couldn't even sit down. I had to stand up and to make these calls. And then I would call or email like once a week every week for these 30 people. And some people said, never call me again. Some people said,
really?
Some people just never called me back. Some people said, you got to talk to HR. Some people said, call me next year. Some people said, call me next month, et cetera, et cetera. But unless someone gave me a hard no, I just mixed up an email or a call once a week for these 30 people. And after about 8 weeks, there was this one woman with the Oakland A's in the marketing department. Her name was Lisa Wood. And she said, because I had told this woman, I'll work 1 day a week. I'll work 7 days a week. I just want to get my foot in the door. And she's like, you know what, Sean? HR said we couldn't have an intern, but you have clearly shown that this is really important to you. I'd like to bring you in for 2 half days a week, and it will be unpaid, so you have to be willing to do that, which was okay because I was still making money selling kitchen knives on the other days. It actually worked out tremendously. But if you do a good job, I'll give you a letter of rec at the end of the summer, and you can put Oakland A's on your resume. And that was amazing. And so that's what happened, and that's what got my foot in the door. So now I started this business all because of this experience. So I ended up getting that internship with the Oakland A's. That led to an internship with the San Francisco 49ers, which was a dream internship above and beyond all dream internships because football is my favorite sport. And that internship with the 49ers was in the player personnel department. Luckily, because I went to community college, I took so many units because my dad wanted me to transfer. I was ahead on units, and this internship was during the winter. So I took winter quarter off from UC Santa Barbara. I moved back in with my parents, interned for the 49ers. They gave me access to the weight room and my own locker in the employee locker room.
Wow.
It was just incredible. They flew me in Indianapolis for the combine. Those of you sports fans, they gave me a stopwatch to clock every guy in the 40-yard dash who was in the in college, being prepared for the draft that year. Amazing experience. And I also landed an internship with the San Francisco Giants, and those three internships led to a full-time job with the Oakland A's after graduation.
Real quick, didn't the 49ers originally say no to you? Didn't you get shut down